True crime is everywhere. Scroll through TikTok, listen to a podcast, turn on the TV. No matter where you look, true crime content is omnipresent. It's in our social media feeds, on our favorite streaming platforms, and even in the books we read. The fascination with true crime has become a cultural phenomenon, captivating millions around the globe. It's unavoidable. Murder, mystery, and mayhem dominate our screens and earbuds. From chilling documentaries to gripping podcasts, the stories of real-life crimes are everywhere. We are drawn to the suspense, the intrigue, and the shocking twists that these stories offer. It's a genre that keeps us on the edge of our seats, always wanting more. This constant barrage desensitizes us. The more we consume, the more we become numb to the real-life horrors behind the captivating stories. The gruesome details that once shocked us now seem almost routine. We start to view these tragic events as just another form of entertainment, forgetting that they involve real people and real suffering. We become numb to the real-life horrors behind the captivating stories. The victim's pain and the perpetrator's cruelty become just another plot point in a never-ending series of crime tales. The emotional impact of these stories diminishes as we consume more and more, leaving us detached from the reality of the situations. The line between entertainment and exploitation blurs. As true crime content becomes more sensationalized, the ethical boundaries become increasingly murky. Are we honoring the victims by telling their stories, or are we exploiting their tragedies for our own entertainment? It's a question that doesn't have an easy answer, but it's one that we must consider as we continue to consume this content. We consume tragedy like popcorn. The victims become characters. Their lives and deaths are reduced to plot points in a story designed to entertain us. We forget that these were real people with families, friends, and futures that were tragically cut short. The more we consume, the more we risk losing our empathy and our humanity. Their pain becomes our entertainment. We watch, listen, and read with a morbid curiosity, drawn to the darkness of human nature. But in doing so, we must remember the real people behind these stories. Their suffering is not just a plot twist, it's a reality that they and their loved ones have to live with every day. This is the dark side of true crime. While it can be fascinating and engaging, it also has the potential to desensitize us and blur the lines between reality and entertainment. As we continue to consume true crime content, we must do so with a mindful awareness of its impact on our perceptions and our empathy. We must strive to remember the humanity behind the horror. Podcasts dedicated to dissecting gruesome murders are a dime a dozen. Hosts often inject humor, making light of the darkest aspects of human nature. They discuss the most horrific details with a casual tone, as if they were chatting about the latest celebrity gossip or the weather. They make light of serious situations. The delivery is casual, almost flippant. It's as if the gravity of the crimes they discuss is lost on them. The victims' stories are reduced to mere entertainment, stripped of their humanity and dignity. It's as if they're discussing the weather, not someone's brutal end. The casual banter and jokes can be jarring, creating a dissonance between the content and the tone. This dissonance is further amplified when the hosts switch to advertisements. This episode is brought to you by a cheerful voice interrupts the narrative of a brutal murder. It's jarring. It's disrespectful. The transition from discussing a heinous crime to promoting a product is often abrupt and unsettling. A cheerful voice interrupts the narrative of a brutal murder. It's jarring. It's disrespectful. The juxtaposition of a lighthearted ad read with the grim details of a crime scene is not only inappropriate, but also highlights a deeper issue. It highlights the profit-driven machine behind this genre. The true crime podcast industry has become a lucrative business, with hosts and producers capitalizing on the morbid curiosity of their audience. The focus shifts from telling the victims' stories to generating revenue. They are literally making money off of someone else's tragedy. The ethical implications of this are profound. By turning real-life horror into a commodity, these podcasts risk desensitizing their audience to the real pain and suffering behind the stories. The victims and their families become secondary to the entertainment value and profit margins. The insensitivity of true crime podcasts raises important questions about the responsibility of content creators. Shouldn't there be a line between respectful storytelling and exploitation? How can these stories be told in a way that honors the victims and educates the audience without trivializing the events? Some argue that true crime podcasts can raise awareness about unsolved cases and bring attention to systemic issues within the criminal justice system. However, this potential for positive impact is often overshadowed by the sensationalist approach many podcasts take. There are ways to approach true crime with sensitivity and respect. By focusing on the victims' lives rather than just their deaths, and by engaging with the broader social issues at play, podcasters can create content that is both compelling and conscientious. Ultimately, the true crime genre has the potential to be more than just entertainment. It can be a platform for advocacy and change, but only if those behind the microphones are willing to prioritize ethics over profit. The challenge lies in finding that balance and ensuring that the stories told are done so with the utmost respect and care. Gabby Petito's disappearance and murder captivated the nation. Social media became a breeding ground for amateur detectives. Theories ran rampant. The case turned into a media circus. This intense focus can have real-world consequences. It can impede investigations. It can lead to the harassment of those tangentially involved. In the pursuit of answers, we sometimes forget the basic human empathy that should guide our actions. Hollywood is not off the hook. Streaming giants like Netflix and Hulu have capitalized on the public's fascination with true crime. They produce series about infamous serial killers and shocking crimes. However, these productions often prioritize sensationalism over sensitivity. Families of victims are left reeling. Their trauma is dredged up. Their loved ones are portrayed without their consent. The pain of their loss is exploited for entertainment value and, ultimately, profit. Section 5. The Dahmer Effect. Glorifying killers and ignoring victims. Netflix's Dahmer Monster. The Jeffrey Dahmer story sparked outrage. The series humanized a monster. It gave him a voice. It failed to adequately portray the suffering of his victims. This is a common problem. The focus shifts to the killer, their psyche, their motives. The victims become footnotes in the killer's story. Their voices are silenced, their stories minimized. Section 6. Dead Asleep. Profit over respect for the deceased. Hulu's Dead Asleep is another example of how the true crime genre often prioritizes profit over the respect and dignity of the deceased and their families. The documentary examines the controversial case of a man who claimed he killed his girlfriend while sleepwalking. This defense, while rare, has been used in courtrooms before, sparking intense debates about its validity and the ethical implications of such claims. However, in their pursuit of a gripping narrative, the production team failed to consult the victim's family. This oversight is not just a minor error, it is a significant ethical lapse that disregards the feelings and rights of those most affected by the tragedy. The family was blindsided by the project, learning about it only after it was already in production. This is inexcusable and highlights a growing trend in true crime media where the rush to produce content often overshadows the need for sensitivity and respect. The victim's family should have been informed from the very beginning. Their input and consent are crucial in telling a story that involves their loved one. Ignoring them not only adds to their grief, but also raises questions about the integrity of the documentary itself. Their voices should have been included to provide a more balanced and respectful portrayal of the events. The absence of their perspective creates a one-sided narrative that can mislead viewers and further traumatize the family. Their pain should not be exploited for views and subscriptions. True crime documentaries have a responsibility to handle sensitive subjects with care and respect. Exploiting tragedy for profit not only disrespects the victims and their families, but also undermines the credibility of the genre as a whole. As consumers of true crime media, we must demand higher ethical standards and hold creators accountable for their actions. Only then can we ensure that the stories of the deceased are told with the dignity and respect they deserve. The true crime genre forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. Where do we draw the line between entertainment and exploitation? How do we balance our fascination with the macabre with respect for the victims? These are not easy questions to answer, but we must ask them. We must engage in critical thinking about the content we consume. We must demand better from creators and platforms. True crime, when done ethically, can be a powerful tool. It can shed light on injustices. It can raise awareness about important issues. It can give a voice to the voiceless. Podcasts like Serial and documentaries like Making a Murderer have sparked important conversations. They've exposed flaws in the justice system. they've led to the exoneration of wrongfully convicted individuals. We need a moral recalibration in the true crime genre. Creators need to prioritize sensitivity and respect for the victims. Platforms need to be more discerning about the content they produce and promote. Consumers also have a responsibility. We need to be mindful of the content we consume. We need to support ethical creators. We need to hold platforms accountable for harmful content. True crime is more than just entertainment. It's about real people, real lives lost, real families shattered. We cannot forget that. Let's remember the victims. Let's honor their memories. Let's demand better and more respectful content from the true crime genre.